In Man of Steel, Superman saved humanity by killing the relentless General Zod. But what if the timeline took a dark turn? What if General Zod actually killed Superman in the final moments of the Black Zero event? What if Zod's plan to turn Earth into a new Krypton succeeded? What if Clark failed to stop the World Engine? For this DC What If, I'm going to delve into one of many possibilities that could come of this outcome. As with all what if stories, there is no definitive answer, as the outcome depends on the writer and the story they want to tell. I will begin this story at the very end of Kal and Zod's fight, but before I do so, I want to point out that this is one version of two stories within this what if scenario. This version will explore the consequences and fallout of Zod killing Superman after Clark destroyed the World Engine. The second version of the story would involve the same outcome. However, it's in a situation where Clark failed to stop the World Engine, which would result in the Black Zero never being destroyed. But that will be a story for another time. Now, let's explore an alternate universe of Zack Snyder's DCEU and ponder the question, what if Zod killed Superman?
You believe your son is safe? I will find him. I will reclaim what you have taken from us. I will find him. I will find him, Lara. I will find him!
Our story begins here, during the final battle between Superman and General Zod. Superman successfully grappled Zod as he attempted to hold him down, but in this universe, he was overpowered by him. Zod managed to counter the hold since he had much more combat experience, given he was Krypton's general and was quite literally bred for this purpose. Zod grabbed Clark by the neck and forced him to look helplessly at the humans in front of them. He pleaded, begging Zod not to kill them. Zod shot his heat vision and slowly moved the trail towards them as he monologued to Kal that he would keep his promise on wiping out the humans that he had adopted. Zod then killed the human civilians. They had just been completely burned alive in front of Kal. He angrily wheezed and yelled, saddened at realizing that everything in his life has led to this depressing climax. As he struggled helplessly to free himself of General Zod's grip, Zod then snapped his neck. He wanted that to be the last thing that Kal saw before killing him in cold blood. As Earth's only hope dropped to the ground dead, Lois Lane had just witnessed this horrifying and gut-wrenching scene from the steps she had been standing on. She gasped, covering her mouth in horror as her hands were trembling in fear. Lois couldn't believe that the Man of Steel had just fallen, as he was Earth's true last line of defense against this foreign invader. The Superman was dead. Zod stepped away from Clark as Lois hesitantly ran to his motionless body. She fell to her knees, crying, and begged Clark to come back, saying that the world needed him. She needed him. Lois shortly realized that the reality of the situation couldn't be changed. The terrified reporter looked up to see Zod's soulless stare. He began to monologue about how this outcome was ultimately inevitable, that there was no way Kal-El could have won. Zod said he was born for this, and that it was his purpose. But just as he had no more people, he told Lois Lane that she wouldn't either. With a piercing cold glare, Zod calmly walked over to Lois. His last words to her were that she shouldn't worry, and that she would soon reunite with Clark. Zod then ruthlessly incinerated the helpless woman, killing her instantly with his heat vision. The eerie scenery of Kal's dead body and the remains of Lois Lane in the quiet destroyed building was a quick glimpse of what awaited humanity in due time. Without another functioning world engine, Zod's plan had failed, at least for the time being. Angry at the fact that he was so close, Zod set out to do what he promised, which was to wipe out the humans and make them suffer. And so, Armageddon had begun. Flying out of the broken down train station, where he had just murdered Superman and Lois Lane, General Zod proceeded to level what remained of Metropolis. As he flew through various buildings and populated areas, Zod unleashed waves of continuous heat vision, effectively burning down the whole city. He amplified the destruction by flying into more buildings and skyscrapers, throwing pieces of them everywhere in sheer rage and crashing into them at full speed. It was as if the devil arrived to rain havoc on mankind. Somewhere in the city, Bruce Wayne had attempted to escape with the little girl he saved. However, a building nearly crashed upon him, which separated him and the child. Zod's murderous rampage caused a massive nearby building to fall just in front of Bruce, which killed the little girl he tried to save, and his employees who worked at the Wayne building. In the hour of this destruction, the President of the United States ordered a nuke to be sent to Metropolis, with the hopes of killing the Kryptonian invader, just as they attempted in the original timeline when Doomsday fought Superman. However, just like in that timeline with what happened to Clark, the nuke doesn't kill Zod. As it flew towards Metropolis, Zod heard it in the distance. He flew up in the sky in attempts to destroy it. The nuke detonated before it could land on the ground, which caused Zod's lifeless body to crash down into the ruins of Metropolis down below. He laid on the ground motionless for around the same time Superman stayed floating in space when he was hit by the nuke during the battle against Doomsday. This short time frame allowed Bruce Wayne to escape and retreat back to Gotham, into the Batcave. When the military closed in on Zod, with their weapons drawn, they soon stepped back as they noticed Zod's body was repairing itself. The nuke had only made him angrier, and in a split second, he wiped out all of the reinforcements near him with one swift heat vision attack. Zod continued to destroy Metropolis until it looked like nothing but ash and rubble. His destruction eventually killed Perry White, Lombard, and Jenny on the street. Their fates were destined to be the same as Lois and Clark's the moment Zod killed him. After completely wiping out Metropolis, Zod took Clark's body and hid it in a secure location inside the remains of the scout ship. With Clark dead, he now had the Codex, but without the proper equipment, he wouldn't have been able to extract it from Clark, especially with the Genesis chamber being destroyed. He wouldn't be able to bring the Kryptonians to life, the ones that were in the Codex, the registry of all its citizens. Zod flew around the planet and continued his assault on humanity for the following weeks to come. With the Black Zero gone and the world engine destroyed, Zod continued his fury towards the people of Earth. Within just a few months, the entire northern hemisphere would become a wasteland, and soon the whole planet. To some religious groups, Zod would be viewed as the devil, or a version of the Antichrist, who had arrived from hell to destroy all life on Earth, as some sort of biblical prophecy, though some would worship him. Zod would exterminate all humans, with only keeping the most useful ones alive, long enough to serve his needs and his plans, if some were capable of such, as it wouldn't be tactically wise to destroy any potential help in bringing his devices back. Somehow, Zod needed to find a way to repair the remains of the world engine that was destroyed by Clark in the Indian Ocean. His main purpose was to turn Earth into a new Krypton, but without a working world engine and the Black Zero completely gone, completing this task would be impossible. Weeks into the fallout of Superman's death, Zod set his rule over the people of Earth and made sure that his speech had been televised globally. He stated that all would be eradicated. So, General Zod used the capital of the US as an example by completely obliterating the White House and all of Washington. This, on top of the destruction he had already caused, would create a quick domino effect of society completely collapsing. It was quite literally the end of the world. All governments would lose control. Everything now meant nothing, as the end of humanity had just arrived. Chaos would soon fill the streets and cities of the world with looting, riots, and revolts, as mass panic consumed every corner of the globe. In secret, underground resistance fighters from across the world would form to combat Zod, but with no real knowledge of Kryptonians, anything that they would do would be useless. The military would act accordingly, but there wasn't much they could do. Somewhere around the globe, Diana Prince had witnessed the horrors he had committed on a live news broadcast. She had decided that the time to return to mankind was now. And so the Amazonian warrior began to track down Zod's movements and tracks in the days following the death of Superman. Somewhere in a secret underground bunker, Amanda Waller and remaining government officials conjured a plan to eliminate this new threat. Amanda began work on creating Task Force X, aka the Suicide Squad, in the following months to come. In the remains of Gotham City, Bruce Wayne had also been working countless late nights, investigating the Kryptonian general from afar, in hopes of finding any potential weakness that he may use to kill him. Lex Luthor would look into this global threat on his own as well, within the remains of an underground LexCorp facility stationed in an isolated area in the US. Lex believed that any answers on Kryptonian biology would be inside the damaged scout ship that remained at Metropolis, where Zod was hiding out. During this period of time, they simply had no choice but to be patient and wait. They wouldn't be helping anyone if they all ran in blindly to confront Zod. At some point in the midst of his rampage, Zod regrouped at the Kryptonian scout ship, where he hid Clark's body. He paced around thinking of his next move. His primary goal was to fulfill his original mission by terraforming the Earth into Krypton. His first course of action was to figure a way to access the Phantom Zone and bring back his allies. Zod flew over to the Indian Ocean where the remains of the World Engine had been. He searched through the destroyed machine for any scraps that could help him in his quest. Zod barely found anything above the surface, so he jumped in the water and swam under the debris in hopes of finding anything that could help him. As Zod was swimming, he noticed a strange rock formation. It had been formed next to a piece of equipment. Zod grabbed it and swam to the surface on the beach. He placed the object down and began to punch it to see what was inside. When he finally cracked it, a bright green light emitted from the rock cast. It was kryptonite. To his surprise, he quickly flinched and stepped back. The radiation emitting off of the kryptonite quickly blurred his senses. He was visibly hurt and in pain by the green rock and fell to the ground, coughing violently, before crawling away. The kryptonite nearby had been formed during the World Engine's terraforming process. The US Department of Defense and LexCorp had been monitoring Zod's patterns and movements ever since he leveled Metropolis weeks ago. They had drones scattered around the world. One drone from the US DoD captured him going underwater and making it to the surface on the sand. The drone captured Zod being visibly harmed by the kryptonite rock when he was smashing it open and collapsed to the ground. This piece of footage would later be found by Bruce Wayne while hacking into the DoD's database regarding information on Zod. It's here that Bruce would learn about kryptonite. Zod heard the drone far in the distance, much like Clark did in the end of Man of Steel when he destroyed General Swanwick's drone that had been tracking him, and proceeded to destroy it. After he tore it apart, he noticed the US markings on the side and proceeded to fly to the DoD headquarters. Zod attacked and killed everyone, but General Swanwick managed to escape. While leaving the rubble he left behind minutes later, Zod heard something that was alive beneath all of the destruction he just caused. Zod then used his X-ray vision and saw something out of place. It was a cube-shaped object that seemed activated. Zod went to retrieve it and was surprised by what he had just discovered. It was a mother box, and it was breathing. At the end of World War II, the Nazis managed to find the mother box entrusted to mankind in an Italian monastery. The Nazis arranged to send it to Hitler, but the box was intercepted by the Allies and reached the United States in 1944, safeguarded under the United States Department of Defense up until now, as Zod found it in this timeline when he completely leveled the whole base. In the original timeline, the box was sent to Star Labs in 2015, but in this universe, events went differently, for the worst. As since Zod brought the end of the world, the circumstances and chaos brought upon the Kryptonian invader prevented the box from being sent to Star Labs and Metropolis, which by then had been destroyed along with the city. Since the events of Man of Steel happened differently, with Zod destroying all of Metropolis, Silas Stone would have never gotten his hands on the mother box in 2015 because the box would still be at the Department of Defense. In the original timeline, when the mother box was transported to Star Labs in 2015, Silas Stone used it to save Victor Stone, his son. But since Zod leveled Metropolis in 2013, Silas would have died in the destruction at Star Labs while working there. Victor could have likely become a regular resistance fighter, or died in the chaos that ensued shortly after Superman's death, when Zod took his rage throughout Metropolis and Gotham. In a way, it would have been better if he died in the car accident than living hell on Earth with the devil flying around. As Zod examined the strange object outside of the now destroyed DoD base, he could feel it alive and came to the conclusion that it wasn't of Earth. He viewed it as a fascinating piece of hardware, hoping that it may be of use to him. Zod then took the mother box to the scout ship to examine it, though shortly after the box suddenly stopped breathing and went back to sleep. The scout ship AI took a lengthy amount of time to fully examine it due to its complex and foreign qualities. But regardless, General Zod now had his hands on a mother box. In the original timeline, the mother box woke up as it heard Superman's dying scream, since he was Earth's protector. It was sending a message to its creators, a signal for potential conquest. The same happens in this universe, and while Earth still had a Kryptonian alive in General Zod, he was not a protector of Earth, but its conqueror. And this concludes part 1 of What If General Zod Killed Superman.